So in the last class, that last topic we have covered is forces and moments of acting on an airplane. So I have told you about how the forces and location, especially lift and drag, will be acting in the center of pressure, weight will be acting in the center of gravity, as well as thrust will be acting on the line of thrust. Okay, so that's what I have explained you in the last class. So in the next topic, we are going with equations of motion and performance analysis. So what exactly we are going to do in this entire course, right? So we are going to calculate some performance parameter. Okay. So how the equation of motion need to be calculated and what are the performance analysis we are going to do in this chapter. Okay. So in the previous lecture also I have told you what is a flight path also. I have explained you what is flight path, as well as I have explained you the placement of engines configurations, right? Configurations I have explained also. So let's move to the topic today. So expected outcome of this particular lecture is you will be understanding the equilibrium condition and equation of motion, and as well as the performance analysis, what we are going to do in this particular. So as I told earlier, I am taking the entire lecture from IIT Madras NPTEL course, Professor E.G. Tulapurkara. So it was shared with for the education purpose only. So equilibrium of an airplane, right? So in the last class I have told we are having 4 types of forces. So in this class I am giving that statement like 3 types of forces. So whenever you are reading some research article or any advanced books, right, they might have used 3 types of forces are acting in an aircraft. Don't get confused, right? So the 3 types of forces are including with aerodynamic, propulsive, and gravitational. Okay. So the aerodynamic force is given with respect to lift and drag, where propulsive is given with respect to thrust, and weight will be given with respect to gravitational force. Okay. So and the corresponding moments due to them govern the motion of an airplane. So let's say I'm having the aircraft. So everyone knows what is pitch up, pitch down. Yeah, right. So yeah, left, right. Okay. So rolling anti-clockwise, clockwise. Okay. So each and every force is going to give a particular movement, a contribution towards the particular movement. Okay. So movement is nothing but force into arm distance, right? Perpendicular distance. I will be calling it as arm distance. Okay. So if I am calculating movement with respect to CG. Okay. So I have to calculate voice is breaking. My voice is breaking. Can we ensure that my voice is clear? Is my voice is breaking? No, it is clear. Clear. Okay. Okay. Okay, dear. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So suppose I'm taking movement about CG, right? So the wing is also providing a contribution lift, right? So if I'm calculating a movement, right, with respect to the force, lift force acting in the wing and lift force acting in the tail, right? So there will be a perpendicular distance, right? I hope you can see the video, right? So there will be a perpendicular arm distance with respect to CG, right? So each and every forces, not only lift force, the thrust force. In the last class also I have told the thrust will be acting along the propulsion where the engine is located, depending upon the engine location, right? So if the engine is mounted in the nose, so the thrust line will be acting in the nose section. But in this model, particular model, the wing is mounted. The engine is mounted in the wing. Okay. So our thrust force, right? Thrust force will be along the engine itself. Okay. So this is the thrust force direction. Okay, so along this, the thrust force will be acting. Okay, so our CG is here, thrust force is acting here. So the location, arm distance will be over here. Okay, so we can consider engine 1 is producing thrust 1, T1. Engine produce this is producing a different thrust. Like let's say comparing to this T1, it is producing less thrust. Okay, so what will happen? There will be a movement. Okay, the yaw movement, and it will be a banking combination of rolling and yaw movement will be done. Okay, so each and every force is going to provide and contribute for the movement also. Okay, so that's why the first point, which is stating the three types of forces and the movements due to them govern the motion of an airplane. Yes, so depending upon the three forces, that is, we will say four forces. So four forces, the corresponding movements also, and the motion, entire aircraft flight, right? So if the aircraft want to go straight or go up or go down, so it depends upon the forces and movements. Okay, so next point is, if the sum of all the forces and moments are zero, right? So basically the equilibrium condition is nothing but to maintain the stability, right? To maintain the stability, right? We want to make the aircraft or any body, not only the aircraft, even if I am keeping a ball in a table, right? The ball should not move, right? So that we can say that it is stable, right? So if you want to make the aircraft stable, it should not move up or down or turn or roll. Okay, so it has to fly in a constant speed. Okay, so in that case, if you I want to give that statement, then uh, the sum of all forces and moments should be zero. Then the aircraft will be said to be in stable or in equilibrium condition. Okay, and will move along a straight line with a constant velocity. So suppose if I am saying that cruising is not only the equilibrium condition, if I am climbing, if the aircraft is climbing in the climb position, right, and if the aircraft is not disturbed, right, so if the aircraft is in a climb position and it is climbing in a steady manner with a constant velocity, with a constant angle of attack, right, then we can say that during the climb the aircraft is equilibrium or the aircraft is in stable position. Okay, so we have to make sure that sum of forces and moments should be equal to zero, or we can say upward forces, sum of upward forces equal to downward force, or sum of the left hand side acting forces and right hand side acting forces will be equal to zero. In case of movements, we have to say anti-clockwise and clockwise movements, right, equal to each other, right? So we have given the statement with constant velocity. See Newton's first law. So Newton's first law said that there won't be any disturbance, external force, when there is no external forces acting, the object will move constantly. Like depending upon the Newton's first law, this equilibrium statement has been given. Okay. Right. So the next point is, if any force is unbalanced, then the airplane will have a linear acceleration in the direction of unbalanced force. Okay. So what is unbalanced? Unbalanced means, see, if I want to make the aircraft to fly in the constant form, right? So the lift produced in the right hand side wing and the left hand side wing should be equal, so that we can say the aircraft will go in this same direction. Suppose the lift in the right hand side, it is my right hand side. Okay, so I don't know, the mirror will be imaged or something in the video. So kindly look into the video also. If the right hand side the lift is increased and the left hand side the lift is decreased, so there is an unbalance, right? The forces are unbalanced. So what will happen? Side which is having more lift will be generating a movement, and the side which will be having a less lift, right, it will be creating a rolling movement. Okay, so the statement, once again read the statement, if any of the forces is unbalanced, then the airplane will have a linear acceleration in the direction of unbalanced force. Yes, so here the force is decreased, right? So here the force is increased. So there will be a linear acceleration. The acceleration will be like this, right? So the acceleration will be like this. Same will be going with the thrust, even if the lift is balanced, but the thrust of the engine, right? So the thrust of the engine is not balanced, right? Then the aircraft will tends to have a movement. That is, a linear acceleration will be generated in the unbalanced force. Okay. I hope you might be clear with that. So if you are having any query, I will give the last 5 to 10 minutes. We will discuss about that also. Okay, no issue. So read the next line. If any of the moments is unbalanced, then the airplane will have an angular acceleration about the axis of unbalanced movement. Okay. So first point they are saying with respect to forces. So if the forces are unbalanced, then there will be a linear acceleration. So if moments are unbalanced, okay. So if the forces are unbalanced, correspondingly the moment will also get unbalanced, right? So let's think more. I hope you might know the fuselage reference line, right? In the last class, I have told fuselage reference line. So I'm just drawing roughly what is the fuselage reference line once again. Sorry for the worst drawing. So just kindly bear with the drawings and all. Okay? So I am very poor in the drawing. Okay, this line has to be straight, but I have drawn wrongly. This line has to be straight. Okay, right. So from the nose section to tail, right? Sandeep Kumar, I will explain at the end what are the queries. You just have to type it in the chat box. I will explain in the later part. Okay, so let me finish that session, then we will discuss about it. So from the nose to tail, we are having F, F, R, L. Okay, fuselage reference line. So suppose if the aircraft is pitching up or pitching down. Suppose the aircraft is pitching up or pitching down. Let's say the new pitched up path was like this. Okay, I am just drawing roughly. You just try to understand. So the new path is like that. Okay, so the angle between that will be given as theta. Let's say pitch. Okay, so pitch up, pitch down angle, and rolling, turning, canning angle. Yaw angle will be also given correspondingly. Okay, so the pitch up angle is getting changed, right? So when the forces is also changing, the movements corresponding movement will also change, and the angle, pitching angle will be also getting changed. So there will be when there is an angular displacement, correspondingly there will be a change in angular velocity. So when there is a change in angular velocity, the corresponding angular acceleration will be also changing. Can you able to understand? Right? So when there is a lift the force is unbalanced, the force will be giving a linear acceleration, right? That is due to the length, right? Directional wise, right? So when the movement is unbalanced, there will be an angle uh, displacement. Angular displacement will be placed. The angular displacement will give an angular velocity. Correspondingly, we will be having an angular acceleration. Okay. So angular acceleration about axis of unbalanced movement will be taking place. Okay. Right. So the final point is like the relationship between the unbalanced force and the linear acceleration, and those between the unbalanced movement and angular acceleration are provided by Newton's second law of motion. Okay, so everyone knows Newton's second law of motion, F is equal to ma, right? So the relationship between the unbalanced I hope you can see the screen again, right? Can you able to see the screen again? Yes. Okay. Okay. Dear. Okay. Right. So moving to the next slide. Right. So number of equations of motion for an airplane in flight. Okay. So to derive the equation of motion, so for deriving the equation of motion, the acceleration of the particle on a body needs to know, right? So acceleration for every aircraft, right? So if I am saying that it is going in cruising condition, in cruising level, right? So I need to know what was the acceleration of the aircraft, and in order to maintain that stable, then we have to maintain the constant acceleration. The velocity should be constant, corresponding the acceleration should be also constant. So we need to know the acceleration of the vehicle. Okay, acceleration of the body, any flying object also we can consider. So acceleration is rate of change of velocity, everyone knows, and the velocity is the rate of change of position vector, that also you know with respect to the chosen reference frame. Okay, so the important point is for calculating the equation of motion, the acceleration of a particle on the body is needed to know. Okay. So before entering into that equation of motion, we need to understand how much number of. So that's why we have given. We are not going to calculate the equation of motion. how much number of equations of motions, right? So it depends upon the degree of freedom. Okay, so many of you know that what is degree of freedom. You might have learned in the engineering mechanics also. In the last year semester, you might have learned in the engineering mechanics. So once again, I will explain that the minimum number of coordinates required to prescribe the motion is called as number of degree of freedoms. Okay. So what is that minimum number of coordinates? Okay. Suppose if the aircraft is flying in that, right? So flying in particular altitude, right? So if you are taking Earth, center of Earth as origin, right? Let's consider that center of Earth is origin. So we will be having three dimensional, right? X, Y, Z axis. So X, Y, Z axis we will be used to describe the aircraft positioning, right? So we have to identify the aircraft position. The same if the aircraft is moving from one position to another position. So for one position we are calculating with respect to three coordinates. For the other position we are calculating position 1, position 2 from the center of Earth. Okay, from the center of Earth, if we are calculating position 1 and position 2, right? So we are having three coordinates for position 1 and three coordinates for position 2. Okay, just I am explaining when there is a transitional motion. So if there is no motion, if the aircraft is static, then we will be having only three coordinates. Okay, so it depends upon the motion and a type of like different types of object also. The degree of freedom will be varying. Okay, right. So the minimum number of coordinates required to prescribe the motion is called the number of degree of freedom. Okay. So the next one is important. The number of equations governing the motion, the number of equations which are governing the motions are equal to the degree of freedom. So how much number of degree of freedom we are having, that much number of equations we will be having for that particular motion. Okay. So I will explain with the example also. So one of the example is given over here in the third point also. As an example, it may be recalled that the motion of a particle moving in a plane is described by xy coordinates. So let's say two-dimensionally. Okay, x, y. Okay, so suppose I'm having a point, right? I will be defining with respect to x comma y, right? So the point will be explained with coordinates of x comma y. So whatever the variation is happening, so it will be explained with that respectively, right? So that's why the xy coordinates of the particle at various instant of time and this motion is described by two equations. So required is two x comma y and the equations, governing equations will be given with respect to particular motion also, time and its motion, and our degree of freedom will be also for this will be two dimensional. Okay, two. So another one example is a simple example of pendulum, right? So whereas we are just looking into the linear motion only in this only x and y, right? X and y we are calculating. Suppose if we are considering the third dimension z, apart from that angular position, that also we have to consider. Okay. So if we are just considering a linear x is a xy plane, and if it is just considering the two-dimensional linear, then it is having two equations. We are going for third dimensions, three equations. Then if it is a rotational motion, then depending upon that, we are having another coordinate system, another degree of freedom. Okay. So what is the example which was given in this pendulum is, so the position of any point on rigid pendulum. What is the meaning by rigid? So rigid is nothing but the if I'm having the aircraft, right? So if I'm having 2 points, let me draw the aircraft in there. Right. So let me consider one point here, over here, right? Another point over here, right? So the aircraft is flying. Let's consider the aircraft is flying, and the length between the distance between the 2 points are, sorry, the 2 points is called r. Let's say, okay, small r. Okay. So what will happen if I'm saying that the aircraft is rigid? Okay. So that means when the aircraft is flying, right? When the aircraft is flying, the distance between the 2 points, which I have drawn in the slide, right? The distance between the two particular points, that is r, will not change throughout the entire. If we are taking as a problem for solution, we will be saying that, like, if we are considering that aircraft is rigid, then we will be considering throughout the problem that the distance won't change. So that type of, if the distance is not changing between the 2 points, then we will be calling it as rigid. Okay, the object is rigid. The same will be applicable for the pendulum. The same will be applicable for any body also. Okay, so in the next slide also we are having one rigid body. I will explain with that also. Okay. So the position of any point on a pendulum is described by just one coordinate, namely the angular position. So where in the previous example xy I have just given with the linear, right? So here in the pendulum we have included the angular displacement. So the angular displacement which we are seeing is theta, right? So theta of the pendulum which was shown in the figure, right? So the rigid, the string length, right? The string length is not varying. If you see that the string length is not varying. Okay, so that's why they are saying it as rigid. So in this case, only one equation is sufficient to describe the motion. Yes, right? If we know how much the displacement is there, right? So accordingly, we can calculate by resolving the weight of the pendulum, right? By resolving the forces, right? Here also it will be theta. If here it is theta, the corresponding angle will be also here also it will be theta. Okay. So resolving, it will be giving W cos theta and W sin theta. Okay. So in this case, only one equation is sufficient to describe the motion of the aircraft. Another, if a particle is constrained to move on a sphere, then its position is completely prescribed by longitudinal and latitude. Hence, the motion has 2 degrees of freedom. So, what was that indicating? Sphere. If an object or a particle is constrained, right? Constrained to move, yes, on a sphere, right? On a sphere, then its position is completely prescribed by longitudinal and latitude. So you can consider how the earth is spherical in shape. So how we are describing the longitudinal and latitude location, right? So if we want to locate some particular city or particular town or particular place, right? To locate with the longitudinal and latitude. That is, we need 2 coordinates. Okay, so that's what they are describing. That if an object, even if as a human, if I want to say that location of Chandigarh University, then we have to identify the longitudinal and latitude for that particular position. Okay, so that will give the 2 degree of freedom. Okay, right. So the last one, the coordinates needs to be prescribed. The motion could be in the linear length or angles. Okay, either in the length or in the angle. Okay, so with that we can get the degree of corresponding degree of freedom also. Right. So degree of freedom of a rigid aircraft. Okay. So to identify what will be the degree of freedom of an aircraft, right? So why we are understanding, why we are going for degree of freedom in order to calculate the equations. How many equations is required to describe the flight path of an aircraft? Okay, that's why we are going for equation of motion of an aircraft. Okay, so that is a necessity of degree of freedom also. Okay, so here also we are to describe the aircraft motion. The airplane is treated as a rigid body, right? So once again, if you see the image clearly, right? I will zoom in so that you can see the image clearly. I hope you can see the image right now, right? So in this, the origin is taken at the CG position, right? The origin is taken at the CG position, whereas point P, right? That is just a point, reference point we have taken. Consider a reference point P, and the distance between the point O and point P, that is O is the origin, that is with respect to center of gravity, and point P is given with respect to R. That distance is given with respect to R. Okay, so the axis is XB. So in the last class I have told why we are using body axis system, right? So XB, YB, ZB. The main usage of body axis system is, so this is my aircraft, consider this is my center of gravity, so this is ZB, and I hope you can see the video, right? So this is YB and this is XB. Okay, ZB, YB, XB. Okay, so that is body axis system. What it indicates that if the aircraft is rolling, the axis system will also. If the aircraft is rolling, the axis system will also. If the aircraft is pitching up, the axis system will also move accordingly. Okay, There are various types of axis systems are available. I hope you might have studied engineering mechanics. If you are not studied, then you just try to understand this is one of the axis system which will move along with the body. Okay, so the body is moving, the axis system will also move. Okay, so there are some other certain axis system is there, where if this is the previous initial axis system, when the pitch up is there, the axis system will be like that itself. So the X will be acting from the origin in that position itself. Okay, so why we are using body axis system is in order to neglect the inertia, earth rotational inertia. Okay, since earth is having a earth fixed axis system. Okay, so in order to find the motion of the aircraft in the air, right? So where's the location of the aircraft, right? So we will be having two axis system. One is earth fixed system, and another one is body axis system. Okay, so depending upon the motion, right? And we will be having constant center of earth, right? Constant center of earth from where the origin of earth fixed axis system will be there, right? So with that correspondingly, we can identify the location of the aircraft where it is flying. Okay, that's why we are using body axis system in the aircraft and earth fixed axis system. Right. So what is that R indicates? That is rigid. The distance between O and P is not at all going to change, because the object is considered as a rigid object. So whatever the forces or movements getting changed, there won't be any displacement in that particular distance. Okay, there won't be any change in the displacement. Okay, I hope you might be clear with that. So the next one is degree of freedom of some rigid object I have given over here. So how we can calculate some rigid objects degree of freedom? Okay, so with this, if you understand this, then we will easily identify the degree of freedom of an aircraft also. Okay, right. So the same will be applicable. O is there, right? O is the origin. So the body is irregular shape. I hope you can see in the image, right? So the body is irregular shape, right? So the point P is taken, right? The point P is taken, and it is a rigid object, right? So one does not need to prescribe a distance from all the points. Okay. So again, we are considering 3 points. Okay, that is point 1, point 2, and point 3. Okay, so considering 3 points. So now let's see the first, what is it, the step by step line we will go. So it can be stated that to fix the location of a point on a rigid body, one does not need to prescribe its distance from all the points. So we don't need to give distances and how much distance it is or whatever the value it was. Okay, but we have drawn the distance between S12 and S13 and S2 because these are 3 reference points we have taken. Okay, so once again I'm clearing that. So we have to choose the 3 points accordingly in such a way that which do not lie on the same line. Okay, so if I'm taking the third point in the same line, right, like let's say in this point itself I'm taking, we should not take like that. We have to take not on the same line. All the 3 points should not lie in the same point. Okay, so consider in the 3-dimensional way also. Okay, so then only you will understand this. So you have to consider with the 3-dimensional X, Y, Z. Okay, so this is a cross sectional of the body. Let's say the cross sectional area of the body is visible over here. Okay, right. So if coming into the next point, if the position of these 3 points are prescribed with the respect to reference frame, our reference frame is YZ. Okay, Y and Z is our reference frame, right? So if the position of all the 3 points are prescribed, okay, with respect to reference frame, then the position of any point on the body is known. Okay, so if you fix these 3 points, right, then we can easily calculate the point P, right? So where the location of point P is there, if you are just marking roughly initially, right, and if you know the distance of 1, 2, 3, right, then we can easily identify that point also. Okay, then the position of any point is known. This may indicate 9 degrees of freedom. Okay, since we have drawn 3 more points, right, it may indicate 9 degree of freedom. So what will be the 9 degree of freedom, right? So it will be with respect to point 1, the point P can move, right? Let's say if this is the aircraft, right? So I'm having a CG point, right? So the aircraft can move up, down, right? And it can move forward, right? It can roll left, right, right? As well as it can yaw, right? So in case of aircraft, we are having three linear motion, angular motion. This picture, pitch itself. One is roll, one is yaw. Okay. So three movements we are having, three angular acceleration we are having, three linear acceleration also we are having. Okay. So in case of aircraft, simply we are saying that 6 degree of freedom. But how we are calculating that? So mathematically, we are just calculating with respect to the rigid object, which is shown in this image also, which will be correspondingly used in the previous image. The same concept will be used in the for the aircraft also. Okay. So just try to understand. Suppose if the point 1 is fixed, okay. So the point P can move with respect to 2 points, that is 3 and 2, right? It can move in different direction with respect to 3 and 2 if one is fixed. If suppose 3 is fixed and 1 and 2 is relaxed, then it can move another in 2 direction, right? So total 4 direction it came. Then if it is 2 is fixed, then it can move in another 2 direction. Okay. So with respect to that, we can move the object in the 6 direction. So the 6 types of motions will be there. So the number of freedom, degree of freedom, DOF. Otherwise, they will be calling it as DOF. Okay. Degree of freedom is reduced to 6 because the distance between S1 and S2 and S13 is known. See, if you don't know the S1, S12, S13 and S23, the distance, right? If you don't know the distance, then you have to include that 3 motion also, because when you are changing the point, this distance will be also changing, right? So if you fix that point, then the distance won't be varying, right? So that's why they are saying, if you are considering just like that without fixing the points, then it is having 9 degree of freedom. Okay, so if you are fixing those points with a particular distance, that is S13, S12 and S23, right? So distance won't be changed. Okay, that's why we are calling it as a rigid body. Okay, so if you are fixing that distance, and then we will be having 6 degree of freedom. Okay, so the same will be applicable in the aircraft, right? So with respect to one point, if you are fixing, we will be having 3 linear acceleration and the angular acceleration, that is correspondingly we can say to the moments. Okay, right. So for an aircraft in dynamics, so we are in mechanics. Flight mechanics is different, flight dynamics is different. Okay, so when we are speaking about flight mechanics, we are just focusing on aircraft's performance. Mostly, like we can say 70% of time we will be speaking only about the aircraft performance. But when we are speaking about flight dynamics, right, we have to go for more about the stability and control. Okay, so when we are going to the next semester, that is 6th semester, stability and control, we'll be studying about dynamics. Okay, so right now we are studying about the mechanics. Okay, right. So in the degree of in the dynamics, the 6th degree of freedom associated with the rigid body for the same aircraft will be also applicable to the 6th degree of freedom. Okay, so consists of 3 coordinates of the origin body with respect to the chosen frame of reference and 3 angles. Okay, so the aircraft will be having 3 coordinates and 3 angles. So what are that angles? So as I told earlier, our fuselage reference line is there. When the aircraft is moving, right, the angle is called as pitch angle. Same in the forward motion, right? If the aircraft is having a turn, so there will be a yaw angle. Okay, so when the aircraft is rolling, right? Suppose this is my lateral axis, right? So initially it was like this. When the aircraft is rolling, then I will be having an angle between the wing and, if I am drawing a reference line, lateral axis. So there will be an angle. Okay, so that angle will be called as roll angle. Okay, so pitch angle, roll angle, yaw angle, right? So 3 angles which describe the angular position of the coordinate system. Okay, so those 3 angles will be called as Eulerian angles. Okay, clear of that? So 3 types of motions we are having and 3 angular positions we are having. So the angular angles, right? The movement angles. Pitch up is having pitch angle, turn is having yaw angle, roll is having roll angle. Okay. So these three angles are called as Eulerian angles. Okay. So the aircraft degree of freedom is 6 for a rigid airplane. Again, we have to use the word rigid. So if it is not rigid, then if it is in going in a dynamic condition without rigid, considering without rigid, then it will be going for the 9. Okay. Right. So performance analysis, since we are having the last 10 minutes, I will wind up with the performance analysis. So I have shown you three images over here. So one is with respect to the first image is with respect to climb, aircraft climb, right? The second one is with respect to pull up or pull down, we can say. Okay, maneuvering. Sorry. So the third one is turn or banking. Okay, so turn or banking is a combination of yaw as well as roll. Okay, so if I am just speaking about yaw movement, right? Kindly see the video also. If I am just saying the yaw, it is left or right. Okay, if I am saying roll, it is just rolling. Okay, if I am saying using the word called banking. Okay, so the banking of aircraft is a combination of yaw as well as roll, so that aircraft will go like this. Okay, if in case of only yaw, the aircraft will go like this, it will be going like this. If rolling movement, the aircraft will roll like this, right? But in case of banking, the aircraft will have an yaw and roll. Okay, so it will be rolling like this. Okay, I think you can understand that. It will be going like this. Okay, so these three factors is mostly important parameters for any aircraft, right? So the aircraft which is for a passenger aircraft, the climb and turn is required, whereas the fighter aircraft, the full loop, that is full loop, right? Even in our RC aircraft, our students also have performed last year the looping, full outer loop, inner loop. So those will be mostly used for military purposes. Okay, so for passenger aircraft, the climb and turn banking is important, and for fighter aircraft, the loop is also one of the important factors. Okay, so what we are going to calculate in the performance analysis, we are dividing into two: unaccelerated level flight as well as accelerated flight. So unaccelerated means the velocity will be made constant. Make clear that the velocity will be constant. Constant acceleration will be there. So accelerated flight means the flight acceleration will be changing and the velocity will be also correspondingly changing. So in unaccelerated flight, we will be studying about cruising condition and as well as climb, glide, and descent. So what is that? Glide means without engine. Okay, so gliding without engine power. So gliding also will be studying. And in accelerated flight, accelerated level flight and climb, that is when the aircraft is changing its acceleration during the cruise and acceleration during the climb also. Okay, so loop, turn, and other types of motions we will be studying. And there is another point is there which is hidden over here: takeoff and landing. Okay, so that I have explained earlier also. Okay, so the final slide of today's lecture is previously also I have told one of your batch might have solved this problem also in the last tutorial. I have explained the problem. So those who are having a tutorial in today's last hour, we will go for the problem by today so that you can understand better in a better way. Okay. So in the last class I have told location of thrust. It is from the engine L by D. It is from center of pressure. Where it is from center of gravity. But some places they will be marking as a simplified aerodynamic forces, or we can say four forces acting in an aircraft with respect to center of gravity. That is for, just for understanding. Okay. So when you are going for the flight mechanism, you should know where the location of forces are acting. So in this diagram, you can see the thrust line is located in the wing, sorry, in the engine, and the engine is placed under the wing, right? Whereas the weight is acting in the CG position. This is the CG, and this is our CP of the wing. So you have to be very much clear when we are speaking about CG of aircraft, entire aircraft CG When we are speaking about center of pressure of wing, if it is mentioned it as wing, then we are only speaking about center of pressure of wing. Okay, so wherever the problems, even in your gate exam, if you are appearing, you have to be very much clear with the statements what they are giving. Center of gravity of aircraft, center of pressure of wing or tail wing or the entire aircraft. Okay, so depending upon that, you have to understand that. So flight fuselage reference line.